As you know, there are nearly 60 million car loans outstanding for a total of about $780 billion. And for many families, the car loan is the second largest loan they've got outstanding, smaller than their mortgage, but bigger than their student loans or credit card debt. Now, car dealers don't finance most of these loans. Instead, they often act as intermediaries between the buyers and the financial institutions. Buyer asks the dealer about financing, and the dealer turns around and asks the financial institution for a quote, and then the dealer passes the information back to the consumer. But too often, the dealer gives the consumer a higher interest rate than the financial institution quoted and then pockets the difference. One study estimated that these costs aggregate more than $26 billion annually. That's $26 billion straight out of the pockets of working families every year. Other studies have found that minorities are paying a higher share of those costs. Now, as you know, the CFPB has the authority to regulate nearly every kind of consumer loan, but the big exception is car loans. I know the CFPB has some indirect ways of getting at this problem, but a recent report from the Bipartisan Policy Center, this report that's been cited now several times, recommends that Congress close this loophole and give the CFPB the authority to make sure that car loans are on the up and up. So my question is, do you think that would be good for consumers?
So I have several thoughts, Senator, in response to the question. I think you've laid out actually quite succinctly the kind of concerns we have in this area. And I would simply say, when you say that dealers get a quote and they pass that information back to consumers, in fact, typically they don't pass that information back to consumers. If the dealer gets a buy rate of 4% that I actually qualify for, they're typically not telling me that. They're simply quoting back some other rate, 8 or 10 or 14%, and not telling me that the buy rate that I actually qualified for based on my creditworthiness was 4%. That's one of a number of concerns we have in this area. The law that we have is the law that we're working with, and when Dodd-Frank went through, and I wasn't in Washington at the time, didn't see the fascinating events unfolding that led to the enactment of that law, there was apparently a compromise struck where auto dealers would not be subject to the jurisdiction of the Consumer Bureau, but instead would be covered by the FTC. But auto lenders were very explicitly made subject to the jurisdiction of the Consumer Bureau. Our efforts here are to carry out what we understand to be our responsibility to monitor the practices of auto lenders who, if they set up a program, whether it's direct or indirect lending, remain responsible for the effects of that program, and that's what we're trying to do here.
Good. I appreciate that, Director Cordray, and I just want to say I think the CFPB has done great work in this area as best it can. But it makes no sense to me that there should be any exception here for consumers who are being tricked out of billions of dollars every year on car loans. I want to ask you about another issue, and that is, in September, I had the opportunity to participate in 2 military and veterans roundtables in Massachusetts with Holly Petraeus, the head of the CFPB's Office of Service Member Affairs. One major issue for veterans is a growing scam involving the VA's aid and attendance benefit, the benefit that helps cover the costs of nursing homes and in-home health aides for our disabled vets who don't have many resources. Now, from what I understand, the details of this scam are really grisly. A company offers to help a veteran sign up for the benefits. If the company determines that the veteran has too many assets to qualify for the benefits, it tries to hide some of those assets by moving them to an irrevocable trust or an annuity. That not only violates the spirit of the program, it often ends up hurting the veteran. The company generally charges huge fees, takes a fat cut of whatever financial product they end up selling to the veteran, and moves the assets where the vets can't easily reach them. Meaning that the veteran is actually in much worse financial shape than before the person applied for help. I understand one case where a veteran got set up with an annuity that wouldn't start paying out until he was in his 90s. So can you tell me what the CFPB knows about these scam artists and what Congress could do to help stop them from preying on older veterans?
Thank you for that question. Assistant Director Petraeus has seen these issues and educated all of us at the Bureau about them, not just in Massachusetts, as you note and as you know, but all over the country. These kinds of efforts to prey upon what often are seniors who are also veterans are beyond reprehensible. We think that there are things that we can do as the Consumer Bureau, particularly working with state attorneys general who've been pretty aggressive in this area, and I think will continue to be if we highlight issues and problems for them. The state of Washington, the Attorney General took a very helpful action on this. So has the state of Oregon, and we're going to try to coordinate yet others. In terms of what Congress could do, I haven't thought that issue through. But anything that you can do, I think, would be welcomed by us and by others. We want to try to stamp this out, and we want to make sure that people who are entitled to benefits, precious benefits that aren't that extensive under the law as it is, and that they've earned by serving their country, are not going to be stripped of those by frauds and scams of the kind that we see in lots of markets, but this one in particular.
Well, thank you very much. The aid and attendance benefit is a significant way that we show our veterans our appreciation. And these scams are turning a benefit into something that actually undermines the financial security of our older veterans. So I hope we can I want to find a way to put an end to them. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.